Author and paranormal investigator with her new book, Visions from the Afterlife. Coming up next. Welcome back, everybody, to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. I'm author and ghost historian Mike Ricksecker. With me, as always, Vanessa Hogel, my co-hostess. With us tonight, we have a special guest. Oh, and how could I forget our chat shenanigator, Shauna, down in the chat. I mean, my gosh. With us tonight, we have special guest Katie Hopkins with us. She's a author, paranormal investigator. She's been doing a lot of help with Haunted Road Media lately, which has been absolutely fantastic. And she has a brand new book out, Visions from the Afterlife. It's follow-up to, not exactly a follow-up, but her second book after seeing Spirit. So, Katie, welcome. Great to have you aboard tonight.
Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely.
Always
absolutely.
a pleasure.
Definitely.
Always a pleasure.
So tell us about Visions from the Afterlife.
Oh, yeah. Well, gosh, this one started about, over a year ago. It took a lot longer to write than the first one. But, this one still dives into being empathic, having those different experiences. There's a sketch from Vanessa in this book. But it goes into the visions that I'm still having and what I'm still doing as an empath. But also it goes a little bit deeper than that. It goes into dreams and how dreams can relate to our lives that we have, and instances and different occurrences that we're having in our lives in the present time, or maybe it was not in the present time, maybe it was a past life. And I go into past lives, and I actually did a reading with Vanessa about that to make sure that I was on track with past lives so I could write about it, and I wanted one myself so I could really talk about it. Go into being reborn and going into reincarnation and animal encounters. There's so much more with this book, than the first one. The first, Seeing Spirits was a lot about my experiences and growing as an empath. And this book is, I'm grown. I'm using what I have. I'm a grown woman. But I've got everything under, what I'm developed as an empath in this one, and I think you can really see that one.
Fantastic. Want to throw out there real quick, $5 super chat from BD Flint. Thank you very much, BD.
Thank you.
Absolutely appreciate that. Katie, something I noticed going through this book and getting it formatted and published it for you and everything, it did seem to encompass a lot of different aspects, like you said, from pet spirits to past lives, and a lot of different takes, even personal experiences, I guess, are from your family, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So are you starting to get a little bit more into past life regressions, or what's going on there?
It just intrigues me. I personally can't do the readings like Vanessa, can or anything, but I was so intrigued with it because of, hearing about birthmarks and, knowing a birthmark could be, something from your past life, whether it be that's how you died, or it just started to intrigue me so much. I was like, I have to research this more. And, the unconscious memories and things like that, where, you have a memory, but it's not something that specifically happened to you. And there is a specific story in the book about over in Asia, a young boy who had a memory of dying and had scars and everything on his chest. And they had historians research this, and they found credible evidence of a man with the name that this kid said. And they found that and brought that to them and said, maybe this is true, that this kid did have, this past life. One that Vanessa too, I know that this is something that she brings up, is she doesn't like tight things around her neck. I don't either. Whenever my mom does my hair, my mom's a beautician, she puts the cape on, and I always put my hands right here so she can't make it super tight, being maybe hung in a past life. It just was something that really intrigued me, and I wanted to write about it. So did some research, and there.
Now, let me ask you, because I get this a lot. This is one of the main questions that I get when people are trying to really delve into these particular topics and maybe learn about themselves. I've found that most people stop when it becomes fear based, or when they become afraid. Do you feel like going past that has actually grounded you a little bit and allowed you to grow more as an empath?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great point. Um, and I think honestly with my first book, that really opened me up to more, because I had let it all out. But also, like, with the past lives, and doing, the research on that, and, making, understanding it,
Mm-hmm.
in the fear, and things like that, it is kind of creepy, and different to look into. But yeah, I think, once you really get a grasp of it and understanding of it, then you can move past that fear, and not have that weighing on you, to be able to ground. Yeah, to be able to ground.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. I think that it's almost as if the victim mentality
Mhm.
is prevalent, and we have to pull ourselves out of that, because we have to realize we're here to learn.
Yeah.
Period.
Mhm.
And learning's not always peaches and cream. A lot
Right.
of times it's exceptionally painful.
Hmm.
So proud of you, girl.
Thanks.
Hey, we have
Woohoo!
a $10 super chat in the chat from Joe Chandler. She says, in memory of Mike's aunt, sorry for your loss. I really do appreciate that, Joe. And I do
Very sorry.
appreciate everybody, like before the show, and even right now, a few more comments with your condolences. I really do appreciate that. So for those of you that don't know, my Aunt Diane passed away this morning, battling cancer, which is a phrase we hear far too many times these days. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So Katie, you're developing your empathic abilities. How is that, I guess, for lack of a better term, enhancing your paranormal investigations?
I think it makes me more aware of the surroundings, and I think that it definitely provides safety, not for only for me, but for everybody else around and with us. I mean, the locations we've been to recently have been really, really light, which has been nice. Because you can definitely, I mean, your paranormal hangover the next day is just 100 times worse when you're dealing with all those different energies. But, definitely it helps, because we can hopefully, I mean, what I'm feeling could be completely, I feel what I feel. I don't feel what other people are feeling. So I may feel a lighter energy when the person next to me is feeling a different energy that could be really heavy, but I'm not picking up on that. But I think in general aspects, it's allowed us to maybe get a little bit better of a grasp of the location. And even when you know the history, I like to know the history going in. Historian, I like to know it. So, and I'm not a medium, so I don't go in and actually physically talk to people. I just feel the energies around. So I think that also helps within, investigating, because then I can get a sense of the feel. And just like the Granger house, we were there, a few months ago, and nothing bad happened there. It's a very light, wonderful energy, and that's what we felt. Out in the carriage house was a little bit different, and there is a video on Facebook of Josh and I out in the carriage house, and it just had definitely a different feel. But then you think about the people who passed through there could be a ton of different energies that have gone through that carriage house. So it makes investigations a little more interesting, being able to feel all of that.
Now, why do you think it is, like when you talk about investigations, just like Mike and I do, we talk about, there are some that are lighter and there are some that are darker. We obviously know the difference.
Mhm.
Why do you think the general public considers one more important than the other? What has your research shown you with that?
Um, like, why are the different types of hauntings more important than the other?
Yes.
TV shows.
Do you think that there's something psychological to it, though? Do you think it's that need for fear? because it makes us feel alive.
Adrenaline rush. Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything you think we can do to get away from that?
Cancel all the TV shows.
Oh,
All about the TV shows.
I think what we're doing, Vanessa, I think, as authors, as people in the paranormal field, people who can potentially have influence, getting our word out there more, and telling them that, everything you see on TV isn't real. Or isn't true. I think that our stories and I think that our books definitely can help that. Paracon, having people come talk to us face to face and meeting us and going through, that type of interaction and talking to people about the good hauntings and not just the scary hauntings is important.
You mean it's not all demons?
Oh yeah, it is. I forgot.
Don't say the D word.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
That's one thing with my first book is my mom said something about, why don't you talk about the good hauntings? I'm like, Mom, you got to read it because there are some good hauntings in there. So I really think, people like us that aren't in it for the fame or, the wanting to be recognized, we're the ones I think that can influence that if people are willing to listen.
God, I hope so.
Yeah. Hey, we have another $10 super chat down there in the chat room. from Tom McNicholas. Hope you're all staying dry during this storm fest. Yeah. We got caught up in the storm, headed back from a haunted location earlier this evening. Got caught up in that, and it's still storming outside right now. So if we get disconnected, many apologies.
So far, so good.
Yeah, I probably just jinxed it.
Yeah, stop that.
We have quite a few questions coming in from the chat room, so I do want to get to some of those. First one is from Katie Palmer. Is Katie an animal communicator too? So I guess in regards to that, you have animal stories.
I am not an animal communicator, but I do have animal stories in my book for experiences I've had with animals. I have 3 deceased cats and a dog. And I have a living dog that's right over there. And what I discuss with the animals is just having experiences with them after they've passed away. So for example, my dog growing up, we had from when I was 4 to 19. So I had her for 15 years. And she would always make this distinctive sound when she plopped down on this square hardwood floor in my parents' living room. She'd plop down and she'd hit her collar on the floor, and you could hear the collar perfectly. It made just a clunking sound when it hit, and she was a golden retriever, so she was a fairly decent sized dog. And a few days after she passed, and I actually think it's the day that her ashes were delivered to our house, my sister and I believe my brother was there as well, we all heard that sound.
Oh wow.
And we just all kind of looked at each other and we're like, did you just hear that? Like, was that Tia? That's our dog. And there's my dog Boomer. And I also talk about animals being reborn into other animals. Boomer is a rescue. We rescued him 4 years ago, my husband and I. And I swear that my dog from my childhood lives through him.
Oh wow.
I mean, acts so much like her, is pitiful. He's the cutest little thing, but he's acting pitiful right now. But and even my sister's dog, who's a 130-pound Rottweiler, sweetest, most just in your face dog, but he's just the sweetest little thing, sweetest big thing. And he even acts like her. When she would get hyper and excited, that's exactly how Briggs is. So so no, I don't physically or can't communicate with dogs in the afterlife, but I've definitely had experiences with animals from the afterlife.
Cool.
I think that's important to differentiate, because you don't have to solely be able to do that in order to have an experience. I don't communicate with animals after they're deceased yet, but I've had one communicate with me on purpose, and it wasn't mine. So it's anything is possible. And I love the fact that you're covering all these bases, because it shows the newbies out there, don't limit yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, certainly. And even, as you get older, you could develop something that you didn't have before. I mean, just as an example, just, Shauna, up until, 2004 or whatever it was, had never really had any paranormal experiences or anything like that. And all of a sudden, boom, she ends up living in a haunted house, and it's like the entire world just opened up to her. And, she's, really gotten in touch with, like you, Katie, with being an empath.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So from Leslie Fear, she's wondering if, Katie, you could explain more about an empath's abilities.
Yeah. As an empath, I think everybody can have different abilities as an empath. I think there's some that can be, maybe a little bit more in tune and maybe can see spirits a little bit more physically in front of them, or, as a mediumship type empathic. In my own experience, it's more visualizing them in my mind and hearing them. I can definitely hear them sometimes, but it's in my mind hearing. It's not them, going and whispering in my ear or anything, but yeah, whispering things in my ear.
That's right.
But yeah, no, I think it's definitely energy. I think empathic really deals with a lot of energies in the afterlife and in the spiritual world. And it's not necessarily being able to communicate with them, but it's more being able to sense them and feel them.
It's kind of like, I'm going to make a really weird comparison, but it's kind of like being a court reporter.
Yeah.
Because you're being bombarded with information and you are condensing it in a way that can be translated later.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Because when you're an empath and you go into a place, they don't wait in line to make you feel something. They all come at you, or the energy all comes at you. You have to compartmentalize it and separate it later.
Yeah.
That's where I can put it, So,
and I've even had, and this is the sketch that you did for the book, Vanessa's The Remote View, which it's so weird to me. I've had that there at that location, and then I've had it with Mineral Springs. So the woman in blue, and Josh ran to me at Paracon last year because before we even got there, I had no idea what Mineral Springs looked like inside. And I said, gosh, I just feel like there's a woman in blue roaming around. I don't know who she is. I don't know, anything about her. I didn't even know much about Pearl before we went last year. And I'm down at the booth, and Josh comes running with his phone, and he took a picture of a little piece of paper that said "Woman in Blue," and it's in the book, and I have a picture of it. That picture is in the book, and he's like, "You were talking about a woman in blue, weren't you?" And there's the sketch, or that'll be coming up here, but the woman in blue ended up being Pearl.
Yeah.
So, there's just weird things that will come to me in that aspect too. So yeah, Mike just pulled up the sketch that Vanessa did for the book. That is from an old care facility in Anamosa, Iowa, that ended up, it was up for sale. Then they didn't do anything with it. Now it's just going to sit and rot, unfortunately. So the sketch here just came to my mind. This guy I was seeing, it went down this big hallway, saw this guy. I immediately asked Vanessa about it. Who is this guy? What is he from? He's actually from the prison next door.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other pic that you're talking about? Because while I was trying to bring up the sketch, I kind of tuned out what you guys are talking about.
From Mineral Springs, the little photo there, or the little sign that says "Woman in Blue."
All right. Is it this? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah. So, or Lady in Blue. Yeah.
Lady in Blue. But yeah, that's all. They have that in their display case there, all these different like news articles and death certificates and things like that. So when you're there, if you go there for the Paracon, be sure to check that out because it is some really interesting history about Mineral Springs.
Yes, I am so excited for Paracon.
Yeah. And Shauna's saying in the chat that Katie needs to meet Molly with me.
Ooh, yes.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
No.
Watch your feed. Actually, I think I just watched one recently when you were talking about Molly that she just came to you guys not too long ago.
Well, it was at last Paracon. Yeah. I mean, we'd been up investigating in that room a number of times, and it was like each time we were there, we kept getting more and more activity. You know, we were getting, very clear EVPs. The chair in there was moving, and all kinds of stuff. And then finally, last Paracon, was our last location that we were investigating that particular night. So the crowd thins out as the night goes on, and so there's just a few of us left. Shauna and I are sitting in there along with this girl, Brandy, and Shauna kept feeling like she was getting poked. She got an M name, and so all of a sudden, that gave her a poke. And then when the name Molly came to her head, she's like, "Is it Molly?" And it was like this force, it like basically almost pushed her out of her chair. She almost like ended up in my lap, but it was like so powerful that it was like pushing me back. So it was like, oh, okay. So that's why we start calling her Molly, because it's like, it must be Molly because of, how big that reaction was.
Wow. And that's the room down from Pearls, right?
Right. It's down from Pearls. Yeah.
The one
I won't be going in.
Yeah. And the things that it's not public knowledge, so we're not going to say what it is here, but what Vanessa picked up on that room is like extremely close to the truth. So yeah. And it's very horrible what happened down there.
Yeah.
I'll wait for you downstairs.
Yeah. I went into that room a few times. That's where I got scratched.
Yes, you got scratched. Did you actually get scratched in the room, or was it out in the hall? Because I know you were like out in the hallway looking at it.
It was in the doorway.
Yeah. Okay, in the doorway. All right. Yeah, that's one Katie, I've used your clip on that a couple times now to call out Jay Wasley from Ghost Adventures, because he was all, in a tizzy or whatever over getting scratched up there, and Aaron all of a sudden has a moment. He's like running off. Jay's like, "Don't leave me alone," and I'm like, so then I'll bring up your clip, and I'm like, and here's Katie pregnant, and she's just looking down. Oh, I got scratched.
True professionals, not so much.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. In that room, when I walked into that room, I was stuck.
Yeah.
There's actually a picture of me with my arms out, tears streaming down my face, and I can't move.
Yeah, I remember.
And I'm good.
Yeah. I think we were all down the hall when that happened. You and your friend were down there.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. So it's a bad room.
It is. It really is. Some more questions down here. From Spooky. This is from Dawn. This is like a total change of subject. And actually, before I get to that, Shauna does have a comment down in the chat. A little bit more about Molly, that she shows up as a shimmer mirage and follows her everywhere, which is true. Where we were at tonight, scouting out a location, it seemed like Molly was around Shauna again tonight, so it seems to be following Shauna around. But this question from Dawn, is your family supportive of what you do?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. My immediate family on my side and my in-laws. My in-laws will be at Paracon. So
yeah, which is cool.
Yeah. So, absolutely. I mean, every single family member of mine is supportive. There's a story from my grandmother in this book. So
yeah, I like it that some of your family contributed to the book. That was really cool.
Yeah,
You're so lucky.
Yeah, I am.
That's a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a true blessing.
Yeah, and I thank them in the books, in the acknowledgments, and every person in my family has been supportive and proud, and if they ever have questions, they're always.
Oh, she didn't freeze.
I think she did.
Oh, Katie.
Is it Katie or is it me? Because I'm in the middle of a storm here. I think it's Katie.
It's Katie.
Yep.
Are you back, love?
There I am.
Okay.
Internet connection is unstable, it said.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Lightning. And
Yeah, it's all up and down the Midwest right now. It's crazy. So
I debated on putting my hotspot on my computer so that wouldn't happen, but I was like, oh, it'll be fine.
yeah, well, I'm just like keeping fingers crossed any moment here. The lights are just going to go boom.
I know.
You know.
Yeah, there was just a lightning blast.
So John Cleaver asks, what's it like when you go ghost hunting? So I guess maybe the perspective as, how is it for an empath when you go ghost hunting?
Just like any other investigator. I mean, I still use, K2 meters. I still use audio recorders. It really just depends on the location. There's locations we go into and it's completely blocked and I can't feel a thing. So I'm just like any other investigator in the room. But then there's locations where I'm feeling every single energy, spirit in that room or, in that location. And so it's a little bit different for me. I have to be a little bit more aware of my surroundings because you can be a little bit more vulnerable because you're opening up a little bit more than others might be. But I mean, yeah, it's really pretty much the same. I mean, some location examples of that are heavier. And then I can definitely tell there's a difference probably between me and some others is Buchanan County Home. That one just, even just talking about it,
right.
like it's just heavy even thinking about it. Edinburgh, of course, Edinburgh Manor, Missouri State Penitentiary. Those are all huge ones, but you have to think of the things that happen there too. Locations with a lot of trauma end up being a little bit more for me. I just, for some reason, that's what I pick up on the most. I've been told that in the past, the reason that I pick up on those the most is because I have compassion. But
makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah.
It's really not much different.
The first place you named, the very first something manor, there is a little old lady that is in a wheelchair that follows you around.
From Edinburgh or from Buchanan County Home?
The first one, the Buchanan County Home.
Buchanan County Home.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, she might weigh 95 pounds soaking wet.
Or is it the woman that died in the bath? I'm looking at Josh.
Yeah, they're consulting.
He's right over here.
Yeah.
There was a woman. Are you getting any names?
No, she's itty bitty. She's maybe 4'11", 95 pounds, if that.
In that place.
Huh?
There's so much death in that place. And one thing too, now that you say, does she look like malnourished?
Very small.
Very
small. And her wheelchair it doesn't work right. So it's weird. It's the sound of the wheels almost sound like they're not all the way round.
Mm-hmm.
The wheels look wooden to me.
1880s maybe?
Ballpark in it. They look wooden to me and almost like they're hand carved, but like cheaply done. And so they're not completely round. They have that where they kind of miss. Yeah, it's really bizarre. Her hair is stark white. I mean, stark white. And her eyes are almost so blue, they're white. And I can't figure out if they're rheumy or cataracts, you know what I mean? They've got that kind of that milky look. And she loves piano music. And it's really weird because she doesn't play it, but she loves it.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, cell phone ringtones really make her happy.
Oh, wow. Maybe because the tone of it.
Yeah, it's because it's music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the 1880s at the Buchanan County Home, there was neglect of the
very
patient.
much so.
And so that's why you saying 95 pounds, skinny. I wonder if it was like malnutrition. And there's evidence, and the people who were the stewards, I talk about all this in Seeing Spirits, they were cut as the stewards of the location. However, 10 years later, they were put back on. So horrible.
She's saying that she didn't get bed sores like everybody else did because she still had some mobility, but that the smell, and I don't know, I have no idea where this place is, but she keeps pointing up like this, and she goes, the smell up there was the worst.
The attic? Josh is mind blown, I think, right now. The attic?
Or the chapel.
Or the chapel. But the chapel's on the second floor.
She's pointing up like this. She's got little bitty skinny, kind of weird looking fingers. They got little knots in them. Like she can only grip stuff.
Wow. Oh yeah. You're spot on. I don't know who it would be, but definitely makes sense in the fact of that there was malnutrition, there was neglect of the patients.
There was actually punishment.
The smell was actually noted by one of the patients. And we have documentation of this. We saw it. We physically read it with our own eyes from a primary resource.
Yeah.
Of vermin, lice, urine smell, any nasty thing you can think of.
They were left in their beds with their urine and feces as punishment because there were some that couldn't speak properly, and the people that were there, the ones that were meant to care for them, didn't like them. They felt that they were beneath them.
Hey, Katie, I'm trying to find the correct photo to bring up for that. So, was it that one?
Oh.
Katie?
She's stuck.
She's stuck.
There we are.
There you, okay.
Is it that one, Katie?
I lost you again.
You're back.
I'm back. That is Edinburgh Manor.
That's Edinburgh, okay.
Yeah.
So, let me shoot. Which, It's just I have these real small thumbnails to go by, so.
That is the Grinter place.
That's, yeah, okay.
I can on my phone and show you.
I'm just.
Buchanan has a cross on it on the front. Literally, you look at this place and it just reeks of death and nastiness.
That's so sad.
It is. It's a very, very scary place.
No, it's not that one.
Haunting, and I don't know where to find pictures on here.
Well, maybe I'm not going to find it. So I don't know. I know it's in your book. So I'm like going through your photos. I
wonder. Yeah, I'm trying to think what chapter that was. I can't even remember.
Oh well.
Josh is gonna look for it.
Okay.
Parker, the not Parker guy.
I mean, I could throw that up. I know that one, but yeah, it's the thumbnails are really small to try to pick that out. So
it'd probably be black and white. The picture of it.
Oh, maybe that's why. Because I was looking through all the.
And it's got a cemetery in the middle of a forest, and Josh and I found it, and there's an old Confederate soldier buried there, and Confederate.
Let's see. Black and white.
Crazy.
Yeah, because I was looking through all the color photos.
There are other ones in that cemetery that don't have headstones. They were segregated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. There's definitely known. Yep, there it is. That's Buchanan. There is definitely. I mean, we know that there's people non-marked or unmarked graves in there.
Oh yeah. Second and third floor. This is weird because the second floor it's on the right, the third floor it's on the left. If you're looking at the front door, that's where the worst smells were.
Okay.
Second floor on the right, third floor on the left.
Trying to think of those. So those are. This one's a community room on the right, isn't it?
Not always.
No. My Might not have been. And actually the one on the, so you say second floor?
Second floor on the right, third floor on the left.
That's the room that lady thought her uncle was in. Yeah. So second floor on the right, we actually had a guest come to an event. And she thought that was the room that her uncle died in. And she felt he was neglected.
The guy that was, I don't know if it's him or not, but the guy that was in that room had maggots in his bed sores.
Ugh.
Ooh.
Yuck. Third floor left, that was being created into a chapel. That was, so what happened was, at the Buchanan County home, the person that was there in 2012, he was a monk, and basically I think he was running a cult. And he ended up fleeing in the middle of the night because he wasn't paying taxes or wasn't paying money. And he had done this prior to going to the Buchanan County home. And there's actually a place, I believe in Kansas or Missouri, that the Tillery brothers from Creep have investigated that he was also a part of at a church. So anyways, basically he was renovating the Buchanan and did all of this, and he had done stuff, and they never finished that chapel upstairs because he basically fled.
He was made to flee because that place isn't supposed to be a chapel. That's like an insult, really, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way it could be a place of worship.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
We've had some really crazy experiences. And so right below that, that's the other chapel, isn't it? That's where we had some of the worst experiences, was in the actual chapel that was completed in there.
The things that are crawling on the floor.
Yeah.
Down here.
Yeah.
And there's an illustration of it.
Yeah, it looks like shadow people, army crawling on the floor.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen one run right between us at that place. Yeah.
Their legs don't work. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, I'm done. I didn't mean to do that. I couldn't help it. It just started coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You look at that place and things just start flooding.
Yeah.
That intense.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Josh and I drove all the way there one time. It's a 45-minute drive just one way. And we sat there and stared at the building for about an hour. Couldn't go in. Turned right back around and came home.
That story trips me up every time you tell it.
Yeah. We just didn't feel safe.
Right.
It was just, that's how much energy that building has. And I'm sure it still does. We haven't been there for years. And I think honestly, if we went back now, I'd probably do the same thing. Stare at it and not be able to go in.
Could you get in there?
No, not really. No.
Okay. Oh, not okay. All right.
It's old family member that owns it.
Okay. If
Good.
that ever changes, let me know and I'll come up there and go with you.
We'll just take you right outside of it. That's all you need.
Okay.
We can do that.
Okay.
Donna Gorton was wondering when that photo was taken.
Yeah, you'll feel it.
Yeah.
Internet connection is unstable again.
Oh. You got to back up.
All right.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got you.
Yeah, Donna Gorton was wondering when that photo was taken.
That was taken in probably 2013.
Okay. So a few years ago.
Yeah, Josh and I went out there and searched for the cemetery, and did a full photo, shoot out there of just the building. And those pictures are on the Unknown Darkness Facebook page, and you can see the cemetery and everything else.
Cool. Well, I think you pretty much answered this one already, but Tom McNicholas was wondering if being an empath means you don't use tools to investigate and you focus on your feelings first. But it sounds like you use the tools anyway, so yeah.
It just depends. I mean, there are times where I'm like, I don't even want equipment around me, because I feel like I can feel it more than the equipment's gonna do justice to. And so but then there's times where I'm not feeling anything. So I'm like, all right, go get the K2 meter. Let's see if there's anything, that we can pick up on there, or audio, anything like that. I have gotten away from using the ghost box. I know that you and Shauna don't use it much. Vanessa, I know you don't use it, or you don't use it at all. And I'm with you on that, because it just jumbles my mind, and it's too much for my brain to comprehend. And yeah, and I mean, I know there's people out there that use it, and that's perfectly fine, and that's wonderful. You use what you're comfortable with, but yeah, I mean, it just really depends on the location and what I'm feeling, if I use equipment or not.
Okay.
Have you found that certain equipment can scare or put off spirits?
Mm-hmm. Cameras.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the cameras?
I feel, I mean, we definitely have caught things on camera, but typically on our DVR cameras. But we find a lot of the times when we have our cameras out, we don't get much. K2, I think, is a little bit easier. We always tell them that pretty lights show up.
Right.
They go in front of it. But yeah, I mean, I think that, especially in the location you're at, if it's not a modern location, if it's definitely a very, very historic, and those are the spirits that are there, they don't know what this stuff is. So it could be a fear tactic for them. So
it would be bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it really would. And I mean, I like the fact that you consider that, you know, I mean, not all teams do, you know, and I work with teams that use equipment as well. I don't know how to use any of it. I don't own any of it. I just got a camera, just me.
Point and shoot.
You know? Point and shoot. Yeah. I actually got a real nice camera. My coworkers got that for me, but this coming up in Ireland, it'll be the first time I've ever used, actually, Alton. I'm going to do it there. It'll be the first time I've ever used anything like that, ever.
Nice.
Really, for me, you know, so that was my own. But I tend to stay away from the equipment too. I just, I think it disturbs my vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we tend to keep it pretty simple.
Yeah.
You know, it can, I think, get a bit overwhelming for the spirit sometimes. And you know, it always goes back to that the best tool that you have is your own body. And so if you're always using your best tool, then all the other stuff is just extra, sometimes extraneous. True
story.
Yeah.
So interesting question here from Nichelle Thompson. Do you think that empaths are drawn to each other?
Yes, I do. Sometimes in good ways and sometimes in not good ways. I think it depends on your own energy, for sure. But yeah, I think you definitely do make connections with other empaths, or people who can sense energy, whether, you know, they can sense it like I can, or maybe, I mean, you can sense living people's energy.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, they are drawn to each other, but I think it can be in both ways. It can be good.
I love that you made that distinction.
Yeah.
That just made my day. Because it's true. Not, you know, not every person that is like-minded is like ethics. You know, I mean, not everyone has the same intent. Just because they follow a similar path doesn't mean that their intent is the same. And I think that's really important to recognize and be aware of.
Yeah, exactly.
We've talked, we know.
Yes,
Nice.
Just saying.
Right. Checking through here to see if I have any more questions. Because we got into the some other stuff here. Vanessa getting us off track. All right.
Always.
Oh, if there were things there, I probably blew past it. But so Katie, I know you have another book that's in the works right now, one that you're working on with Josh. Do you want to give us a little preview of what's going on with that?
Yes. So we are writing Iowa Haunted Corridor. So Josh and I live in Iowa, and the corridor is basically made up of Lynn County, Johnson County, Benton County, Jones County. I think those are some of the main counties in the corridor. What we're doing with that is I really wanted to tap into historical roots because that's my background. I have a degree in history, and I wanted to tap into my hometown or my home area. And I want to include Josh in this one too, because I thought it'd be fun to write a book with my husband. And so he's over here.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that you guys are teaming up on a book. Yeah, oh, Josh is a great guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically with this book, what we're doing is we found locations that are known and locations that are not known in the corridor. And in the first sections of that, we are talking about the history, the true history of those locations. Nothing's fabricated. Nothing has been, drawn out in any way. We've literally gone and researched these locations. And that is the first portion of the sections of the chapters. And then in the later part of the chapters, it's basically going to be the true hauntings. So the things that have happened to people in there and backing it up with the history. And also the folklore or the urban legends of those locations. So there are a ton of them. Granger House has one. The Woman in White is not a real ghost that was there. It was made up by a guy who saw a mannequin in the window at midnight, and they say that they can see her every Halloween at midnight. But it was a mannequin. Yeah, we did see it a couple weeks ago. And then I also go into tulpas. I actually got some advice from Mike and Adam on tulpas, and there's a story out at the University of Iowa, go Hawkeyes. There's a story out there in Slater Hall that an Axeman is there. And I'm like, why in the world would an Axeman be in Slater Hall at the University of Iowa? And so I'm looking at it, I'm like, maybe could this guy have been created from the belief that is so, hard in this belief? Could that happen? And I was like, Adam, have you heard anything about this? Or something similar. He's like, it's like a tulpa, just like Slender Man. I'm like, oh, good point. It could be something like that. Because there have been people that say, oh yeah, I've seen the Axeman. Now, could they just be saying they've seen him and not seen him? Of course. But there's also a very, very common one in Cedar Rapids at the Oak Hill Cemetery. A lot of prominent people are buried in Oak Hill Cemetery. A lot of philanthropic people who have given a lot to Cedar Rapids. And yeah, a guy that died in the Titanic is buried there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. His brother owned Bruce Moore Mansion in Cedar Rapids. But there was the ghost of Tilly. And the ghost of Tilly was said to have pulled you into a mausoleum if you go close to her mausoleum. There is no girl named Tilly buried in that cemetery. But people have said to see Tilly. And I'm like, well, could be a tulpa. Maybe people believed in it so much they created a haunting. So really, and that's one thing that I want to help these locations out with. I know the Granger House was really thankful for it to tell the true history and the true stories of the family and not have the fabricated information out there, because there's fabrication of a suicide in there, which didn't happen. And so that's really what that book's going to be about. Not my experiences, but history and experiences of others. We've actually interviewed quite a few people for it.
I do want to go back to the Axeman real quick. Is it supposed to be the same Axeman as from like New Orleans?
I don't know.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about. Watched American Horror Story.
Tell them to play Jack.
Well, but the character from American Horror Story is based off of an actual thing. So,
I don't know. I think, no. The story of the Axeman, and it's so bizarre because the story of the Axeman is that a guy committed suicide in Slater Hall by jumping from the 9th floor, and now he comes back as revenge of committing that and has an axe. That's literally what this is. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I think this was thought up around 2 or 3 a.m. when people were on a Twinkie run.
It was sitting
and a few beers or something.
And some Taco Bell.
Yeah. Josh just goes, have you ever heard of Vodka Sam?
Oh my gosh.
Vodka Sam.
Seriously, look it up on YouTube. You'll find it. There's a song.
Now, Katie, real quick before we move on to something else, when you started talking about doing this particular book, a guy, and I'm just going to call him Bill because I don't know what his name is, so it's Bill, started talking about how you needed to really focus on the southwest portion of the area that you've got picked out.
the southwest portion of the area that I've got, that would be Walford. And I do have a story about Walford.
Okay.
And that's where I.
Yeah. He said you really need to focus on that.
The neighbor guy that used to live next to me.
Yeah, and I had the neighbor guy. There is a story from Walford of murder, and it's actually, there's a book about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a story about that. So
yeah. I don't know if they actually got the person who did it, but it's more than one person involved. There's at least 2 other people that were involved in that actually never even were presented as suspects.
Mm-hmm.
So
they did find the guy. Mm-hmm. Basically, he tried to play it on. It's a really crazy story. He basically burnt down his general store and put his items on this guy and ran away. And people thought it was him. Mm-hmm. People found him and turned it around, and he was convicted of 2nd-degree murder, didn't serve a life sentence, eventually got out, and I think he died in Illinois.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Well, there were 2 other people involved in it.
I believe that. I think one of the lawyers.
Yeah, he might have ran a general store or had a general store, but he actually wasn't very bright.
I believe that too.
Yeah, so he didn't come up with this on his own. He had help.
Mm-hmm.
So, and actually one of them was a woman.
Oh. I'm going to read through that book again, because I'm sure I haven't read it, and it's called Skull in the Ashes. And it's a great book. I'll have to read through it again. And
please do it. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, I will. I'll bring it to Paracon.
Cool. We'll have a girls' night in my room.
There you go.
Come hang out with me.
Girls' night at Paracon.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of, you are going to be at Paracon with all of the 2 books.
Mm-hmm.
And you are speaking first, I believe. So what can people expect from your presentation? Which I believe Vanessa's involved again, correct?
So I am starting off. I always like to start my presentations off with some history of the paranormal. So I'll be going into that a little bit, talking about, in the Victorian era, talking about Queen Victoria and what she did in regards to the paranormal, and the Fox sisters. Of course, you gotta throw them in there, even though they're frauds. But you do have to throw in their theories and things of that. But I discussed their fall and how they were not super credible. But then I also go into types of hauntings. So talk about intelligent hauntings, residual hauntings, poltergeist, earthbound spirits, things like that. And then I talk about the characteristics of being an empath. And then that's where I'm going to have Vanessa come in and talk about the characteristics of being a medium and how we can kind of compare and contrast those. And then I'm going to talk about my books and stories from there, show the illustrations. So if you haven't purchased the books or haven't seen the books yet, you can see some of the awesome illustrations that Adam did for those. And I have Vanessa's sketch in there as well. And then I have some evidence that we've caught over the years from a few different locations.
Fantastic. All that in just 45 minutes. And yeah.
Josh, we'll need you to watch our tables, okay?
So
we'll put him to work.
And you kick off everything on Friday, or not Friday, on Saturday. I'm sorry, at 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
So
I'm excited.
Absolutely. Now, we're really looking forward to the Hot Road Media Paracon. If you haven't yet, please get your tickets. We expect a lot of people there. It's been filling up, which is great. We have a lot of great vendors there this year. Katie, I basically have you in the same spot as I did last year. So it's like that wall there, because now that Vanessa has this banner as well. So it's like that wall, there's going to be 3 of them in a row.
We're going to dominate.
That's right.
I love it.
Representing.
Yep. So going to be a great time. So encourage everybody to come on out and join us. So getting down toward the end of the show, we have about 5 minutes left. So Katie, I did put the link to your new book down in the description below, but how can other people find that?
You cut out. Sorry, what?
It's all right. You got that right? Yeah, no, I was saying that we have about 5 minutes left in the show. I do have your the link to your book down in the description of the video, but how can people find you online?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I'm on Facebook. That's the main place I'm usually at. You can find me on my personal page, Katie Hopkins, or you can find us, Unknown Darkness. That's our paranormal team that we have, and we post different things that we've caught and a lot of pictures, things like that. We also do have a Facebook page for the Iowa Haunted Corridor book, so you can definitely find that one as well. But yeah, I mean, Facebook is definitely the best way to get a hold of me. Send me a message. I'm always on, and we'll get it as long as I'm not sleeping, because we do have a child and I have to sleep. So
there's that. B3 Airspace wondering if we're going to do any live videos from the Paracon for the ones at home. Yeah, we'll do some of that. I know I will. I did some last year. Other people are doing live videos from there, so just tune in to everybody, and I'm sure you'll catch quite a few live videos.
I'm sure we'll be doing a few too. So
word.
Let's see. We got a last question coming in here from Murtaza Arif. This is a part of your book that we didn't really talk about, but question: do you get any insights through dreams as well that guide you to locations?
I haven't had any to guide me to locations, but I've had them to connect me with people. My grandfather, who passed away in November of 2017, has come in a few of my dreams. He also came in a dream of my sister's, and that is a story from her in the book. But I'm sure they definitely could. I've been in dreams before where I had no idea where I was. And I'm not going to say that it's not taking me to that place. It just might not be taking me there yet. So it could be something in the future.
All right. Yep. Very cool. Very cool.
Yep.
Yeah, dreams really, really interesting to me. I have actually had that, just kind of piggyback a little bit, not necessarily lead, but have dreams of locations that I ended up at in the future. So it was almost like a premonition dream, of like doing a paranormal investigation at a house, and then it was like months later, all of a sudden there's the house, and that we're doing for an investigation. So it's interesting how dreams can work like that.
Yeah, and I say one of the main things I talk about in that chapter is a recurring nightmare that I had as a kid.
Oh, okay.
And that's the picture of the witch.
Right. The witch.
And that's my main story about me in that chapter is a recurring nightmare. And why do those happen? Or can we explain why those happen? And so recurring dreams, I go into that as well, but I base mine off of a recurring nightmare. And there she is.
Yeah, she is. Bringing her up.
Yes, she is.
Okay, resize her a little bit. Yeah.
And we don't all look that way.
Yeah.
No, that is
so kind of cute.
And that's the crazy thing about it is it literally looked like your
Mike is now represented by the image of the witch.
What?
I said Mike is now represented by the image of the witch.
I know, right?
So yeah, it definitely it was your stereotypical witch, and that's literally what it was, and scared the living daylights out of me as a kid. And I can't remember when I stopped having it, but I did. But I will always remember this nightmare.
Okay, I have to ask you something. I know we technically should be done, but
we've got a minute.
Okay. She almost looks puritanical to me, like from the Puritan times,
mm-hmm.
and
Old Salem days. Yeah.
Yes, but not. I'm hesitant to say which in the truest term.
Right.
but as somebody who was very not a good person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird because it's like she was after you because of knowledge that you had during those times, especially in regards to particular items,
Mm-hmm.
items that were of extreme importance.
Yeah.
And it's really weird because you and I talked about your love for books and everything like that, and it's almost like it's a diary, like an account of
Mm-hmm.
something. So just think on that and see where that takes you. But it's a very, very bizarre vibe I get from her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
She was outside. How it started, she's outside in the nightmare, and I'm in my parents' room.
Mm-hmm.
See her through the window.
Mm-hmm.
And I close the blinds, and I run to the bathroom. She's at the bathroom window.
Mm-hmm.
And I run out of the bathroom, and my parents used to have this old piano. And I would hide underneath the piano bench, and then she was in the house, and she ducks down and looks at me and smiles.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and it's weird. It was happening to you when you were younger in a dream, but it was the you from before.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's weird.
She was it's creepy even looking at it. And
Oh yeah.
All right. So, goodbye, witch.
Yes!
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, hey.
Yes.
If you want more of that witch, though, you can check it out in Katie's book, Visions from the Afterlife, which she's actually on the back cover, that witch.
Yes, she is.
But you can get the full story there, Visions from the Afterlife. Link is down in the description of the video. And then, Katie already ran down how else you can find her. So be sure to check out Katie Hopkins. All of her stuff. Come out to the Haunted Road Media Paracon. Actually visit with her and watch her presentation. 10 a.m., June 1st. So, all right. I think that is going to do it, everybody. So stay tuned. Inside the Upside Down coming up next on the Facebook page. So facebook.com/Haunted Road Media. We're going to be talking about generational ghosts. Should be interesting. So, Katie, again, thank you very much for joining us tonight. She cut out again?
She's frozen.
Frozen as we're doing the outro. What in the world?
I know, what the fuck is that about?
Yeah. Oh, there's finally an F-bomb from Vanessa tonight.
Oh, sorry.
Works it in
Y'all
there
can-
right at the end.
Y'all can tell I'm off my game today.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
all right.
All right, so I guess we're going to have to close it out with, and then she just completely disconnected. Or, is she back?
Yeah. You sounded like a robot that entire last portion.
No, you completely froze up and then you cut out and then you're back. So, but
it's raining pretty bad here.
yeah. So, all right. Well, we're wrapping it up. So, Katie, again, thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in a week and a half.
Yes, can't wait, guys.
All right. Well, have a great night.
Bye.